Start to listen. You're watching Kimmy Speaks.
Hey, it's Kimmy Speaks. I know it's been a while since I've done a video. Just been busy with school. A lot of doors God's opened, as well as just, living life and just being blessed. I have an interesting topic to talk to you guys about today. Had to experience it. You know how I am. I like to share. And so in sharing, you guys get to examine your own lives and, add your 2 cents or whatever happens. Recently, let me backtrack. Let me backtrack. You know, I'm always talking about bearing with one another, bearing each other's burdens, being a real friend, being there for people, and just living a life that's radical to what the world says, in the way that Jesus Christ would like us to lead. Recently, I had the privilege of taking a friend to the doctor, and it's a friend that I'm really close with, just really close. We're like sisters pretty much, and she hasn't been 100% lately. So for a while, I've been trying to escort her to the doctor, and finally, she got to go, and I was able to go with her. Now, going with her, didn't know that would happen, but going with her allowed me to re-examine my own life and to re-examine the lives of others around me, friend and stranger. Because so many times when you're like wrapped up in school or wrapped up with life or whatever it is, you could forget what's going on around you, because you're kind of in your own bubble, your own world. And I think that this happened for a reason. But let me backtrack just a little bit. A couple of weeks ago, sometime around, it was after Thanksgiving, just during the week, I was on the A train riding home after school. And normally when you ride the train, you might be absorbed in whatever you're doing, listening to music, people watching maybe, because I tend to do that sometimes. Or you might be sleeping. I do that sometimes too. Anyway, you may not notice the people who are sitting down. What you would most likely notice is people who are entering the train or walking through the cars, especially if they're calling attention to themselves. And so this particular woman and daughter were not calling attention to themselves, actually. They blended in nicely with the rest of the pedestrians. But when they left, the attention was drawn. The mother had a shopping cart that wasn't full of food, it wasn't full of clothing, but what it was full of was things you wouldn't ordinarily find in a shopping cart if someone's doing, regular daily duties or weekly chores or weekly duties or whatever. What was in it looked like things that were important, whether that was, I can't quite remember what it was, but things such as, like bare necessities, like a toaster, maybe a radio, pillows, comforters, different things like that. And the daughter, who probably was no more than 9 years old, was pushing or pulling a suitcase. This was a pretty big suitcase. This was an adult travel-sized suitcase, the type of suitcase that you would have if you were going away to another country or another place and staying there for weeks. And this was very interesting. And when I saw this, because of the stop where they got off at like Penn Station area. This is during the week. The girl still has on her backpack, her hair's ruffled. And it reminded me that, there are people in New York and in the whole world who are struggling, economically and just when it comes to living and finances. But what that showed me, what that opened my eyes to, was that, hey, they could very much be exiting this train at this stop to go to a shelter. And when it reminded me of that, immediately I prayed for them. And I may not have known everything, of what to pray, but I prayed to my best ability and tried to pray for the necessities. But it was a pretty, tough scene. Even though it's just, you can get lost in the everyday normal things or routines that we're used to. You could have very much been sitting next to them and probably just didn't notice, or as quick as you saw it, as quick as you forgot it. And so that happened a couple weeks ago. And then we go back to the topic or the situation I was sharing with you just a couple of minutes ago, was I got to take my friend to the doctor. So we're in this waiting room, and there are people, black people, white people, young people, old people. Basically it's a mental clinic where you go to, seek counseling or get some type of medication or, other things. There, it was about 8:30, 9 a.m. on Tuesday. And what that reminded me of, that was last week, and what that reminded me of was that there are many people who are walking around that are not whole. And that's a topic I want to talk to you guys about. Wholeness is holistic, if I may say that. It has to do with so much more than your eating or your drinking or the words that come out of your mouth. It's a physical, spiritual, mental type of thing. And so many times we could be riding the train or walking down the street or hanging out with people or, doing our normal everyday things and not notice and not remember that there are people walking around that are not whole. And what that reminded me of was that Jesus was all about restoring wholeness to people. Strangers and friends, family and foe, and so many times in the church, and in churches, and even for some of us who have been raised in church, sometimes that type of situation can be forgotten, or just that light just not shown on that situation. For instance, I'm not trying to knock what churches are doing before I begin to say what I'm going to say. I'm not trying to say that they're bad. But what I'm trying to say is we all need like a great awakening, if I may say that. Just being refreshed with fresh eyes and being able to see what's going on and how to, and pray for ways and think of ways to, instead of becoming, instead of not becoming the change agent that we can be, or instead of turning closed eye to the situation, or even of, I may say this, helping in an area that doesn't necessarily need assistance. I think that's necessary. I think those type of things are necessary. The type of refreshing and eye-opening experiences. Since I've been doing these vlogs, but even before then, in the last year or two, as you guys have seen me and heard of some of the things I've gone through, as I share with you guys, I'm about experience. I'm about enjoying the experience of life. It's not about being reckless. It's not about being it's not about being reckless. It's not about being all over the place. It's not about breaking promises, and it's not about bungee jumping. It's not about any of that stuff, but it's about seeing things for what they are, but not in a critical way, because so many people they think that I'm keeping it real. I'm seeing it for what it is. This person is two-faced. Like I was saying, it's not about being judgmental. It's not about wagging my finger. It's just about just being open to when God just allows you to see what's going on, and it's about being receptive to those things as well. So I want to read some verses to you that kind of talk about the wholeness aspect. What's pretty interesting that I want to add real quick is when we see areas in the biblical text that talk about wholeness, talk about being able to see with clear eyes or coming out of darkness, all those different themes, but those different very real themes. We always see that they're attached to some type of promise that happens right afterward. If you are this way, this is how it's going to be, type of thing. Now, I find this really awesome because I know for me, I'm always looking for what happens if I do or if I don't. Here we go, physical. 1 Timothy 4:7-9 says, this is the New Living Translation. It says, spend your time and energy in training yourself for spiritual fitness. Physical exercise has some value, but spiritual exercise is much more important, for it promises a reward in both this life and the next. This is true and everyone should accept it. I know that's true. That's yeah. Yeah, right? I'm laughing because spiritual fitness is important, yes. But I'm laughing because for the last couple of months, I've been trying to get an exercise regimen together, and it's slowly coming together. I haven't started yet, but I'm just building up towards all right, I think I have time now type of thing. I know I'm skinny as a stick, but you still gotta be fit, like for real. You still gotta be fit, no matter how skinny you are. But here we have something else here. This is mental, right? Proverbs 3:7-8, New Living Translation. Don't be impressed with your own wisdom. Instead, fear the Lord and turn away from evil. Then you will have healing for your body and strength for your bones. That's real deep. Why? Why is that deep? I feel like sometimes that's a tough thing. I don't know. I feel like sometimes I get excited. I get excited when I'm able to talk about something or I'm able to teach someone something. But I don't get excited in the way that's like, I'm smart. I know everything. But I get excited because they're going to learn something. But what I'm starting to find is that a lot of people are talking about me, not in a negative way, but they're like, that's Kim. That's the girl that knows how to do all that stuff. Go ask her. She's so smart. Da 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 da. I'm just like, nah, you don't have to say any of that. And they look at me like, but it's like, it's not like I'm not trying to act humble, but it's really like, I really don't like that type of attention. Like, you keep that to yourself. Just come ask for help. I will say that I just really feel blessed that God has allowed me to compile all this knowledge that I have, and He's given it to me. So I did, the first one was physical, this was mental, and that was also spiritual as well. Here we go. Now this is interesting. Psalm 145 verses 15 and 16. New Living Translation. The eyes of all look to you in hope. You give them their food as they need it. When you open your hand, you satisfy the hunger and thirst of every living thing. Wholeness. I feel like wholeness is, like I said earlier, it's not just what you eat or what you drink or what you're thinking or what you're saying. it's so much more, but I feel like wholeness starts with your relationship with God. So what this verse shows us is that if you realize that the source is God already, you're taking those steps towards wholeness. Wholeness is not the same thing as perfection. I want to add that in there because sometimes you could be like, oh, wholeness, all right, perfection, yes. I go to Whole Foods, I get perfect food, type of thing. But no, there are just situations where it totally has to be God. That's all situations, but we have free will, and so we are responsible for the choices that we make. And we can heal or we can harm people. And I feel like understanding that God is the source first will allow us to be a little bit more responsible with what we do, where we do it, and to whom we do it. And just allowing people to come to wholeness, and the gospel that just is Jesus. It's all about wholeness. It's all about wholeness. And it's not like, oh, you're going to be whole when you die type of thing. When you die in Christ, you have eternal life. So wholeness is not the same thing as perfection. And what I will pray for you guys watching and for myself is that we will continue to be refreshed. We will have fresh eyes. We'll be able to step back from our busy lives and our busy routines and see the areas where people are not whole and see the areas where we are not whole and be able to act effectively, pray effectively. Thank you so much for watching. I know it's been a while since I've done a video, but I'm just so glad that you guys are still watching. I hope this blesses you. Once again, I'll put the link to where I found some of those verses, well, the compile of the verses. You guys can, of course, comment, subscribe, put your prayer requests down in the drop down or the comment section wherever you're watching this from, because I really want to be proactive in praying with you and praying for you. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed. I hope it allowed you to realize something. God bless. Peace.